Privacy appears in places as a quiet condition. It is not a choice shown by actions. It is a pattern found in walls, thresholds, the arrangement of space. At a large enough scale, privacy reads like an engineered landscape. The condition emerges where design, material, and distance meet in a precise configuration. It becomes a running system, a constant background hum. This system rarely calls attention to itself. Its successful operation is marked by near invisibility, seamless integration into the built fabric. It functions without announcement or visible effort. The architecture of privacy is not about active concealment. It is not about hiding something. Instead, it is about careful calibration of exposure. It establishes gradients of perception, fully public to deeply secluded. This calibration is achieved through physical means: walls' thickness, windows' placement, corridors' length. These components work together to create a state of being. This architectural state is fundamentally passive. It does not require continuous human intervention. The design sorts and separates, muffles sound, and breaks sightlines. Distance works as the first and most fundamental marker of privacy. Long sightlines. Extended pathways change how spaces are perceived and approached. A building set far back from a road establishes a different relationship with the public realm. One built directly against the sidewalk creates a different relationship. The sheer scale of distance shapes visibility and access. The space between an observer and a subject becomes a buffer, a quiet, empty zone that must be crossed. Thresholds mark points of transition within this field of distance. Gate, doorway, elevator lobby, stair landing. Thresholds slow sight and physical motion. They reorder access without words or confrontation. Heavy, slow-swinging door. Narrow, winding vestibule. Distance and thresholds form a series of protective layers. Public plaza beyond a formal gate. Semi-private courtyard within building walls. And private balcony above a shared park. Progression through this field reduces visibility and access step by step. Each layer absorbs attention and filters movement, creating a gentle, firm separation. As projects scale up, more layers appear. Each layer adds to cumulative separation. The journey reinforces the boundaries of the private realm. Access control can be a subtle and nearly invisible system. Schemes of control exist that do not demand constant effort or overt security measures. Passive architectural elements can act as effective controllers of movement and observation. An unmarked corridor. An intentionally confusing junction. It signals intentions quietly, embedding logic into structure. Sightlines that reveal only a small, specific portion of a room make entry selective and deliberate. A sharp turn naturally slows pace and reorients. A sudden change in floor texture or a change in ceiling height signals a shift in domain without a single sign. These are not locks or barriers in the strict sense. Calibrated resistances, unnoticed when followed, felt when resisted, function like a one-way valve. Access control also appears as a function of scale. Layered systems manage flow. Service corridors run parallel to public routes, out of sight. Delivery routes are separated from main reception paths. Zoned elevator banks create pockets of controlled access. Zoning distributes control throughout the building itself, designed to guide and filter, not to block and confront. The system works by making the correct path easy and the incorrect path difficult. It becomes a sequence of managed transitions. The journey reinforces boundaries. Boundaries are legible without confrontation. Access is shaped by form, distance, and sequence rather than command. Some spaces are prepared for solitude from their inception. They are arranged to make intrusion unlikely. The deliberate orientation of openings forms a passive buffer. Deep shelving and high-backed furniture can shield a work area from an entrance. A nested series of rooms creates an innermost place that can sit empty for hours, yet remain a private retreat. Prepared spaces use redundancy to enhance effectiveness, overlapping layers of prevention. an inner chamber behind an outer hall, preceded by a soundproof vestibule, plus a deep roof overhang. These measures form a cascading system. If one layer fails to stop light or sound or sight, another layer reduces the leakage. Redundancy makes intrusion difficult without directed effort. Prepared spaces plan maintenance and operation flows. Access for supplies, technical servicing, and daily movement is routed to avoid core private zones. Service entries, storage rooms, and technical shafts are placed to keep noise and activity distant. The internal logic is self-containment, a zone designed to function with minimal external input. Light drawn from a controlled source, a high clear-story window, a private courtyard. Air circulation handled by a dedicated quiet system. This self-sufficiency lets it persist as a private domain independent of changing conditions outside. Prepared spaces rely on inherent condition, not vigilance. The condition endures across time without intervention. Alignment of thresholds and buffers stabilizes privacy beyond momentary attention. The environment itself can be engineered to absorb information. Materials, mass, and form are used to control the transmission of sound. Thick, dense walls interrupt the path of sound waves. Multi-layered glazing interrupts transmission. Carefully placed voids become acoustic filters. Soft landscapes absorb ambient noise. Volume and height tune reverberation. Vision is similarly shaped by depth, framing, and light. These break direct sight lines into fragments. Reflection limits inward view while preserving outward view. A vegetated membrane filters view and sound without visible walls. Buffers do constant, silent work, inherent to the materials themselves. As systems grow in size and complexity, visibility declines in predictable ways. Larger complexes contain interior pockets and secluded zones. Longer pathways and greater thresholds multiply choices and transitions. Each turn reduces potential for direct lines of sight. Multiplication of layers and pathways complicates simple visibility. Observation concentrates in public nodes. Vast peripheries remain unobserved. Parallel maintenance systems operate without touching core private zones. The labyrinthine quality of hospitals, campuses, and headquarters is part of privacy architecture. Privacy emerges from the improbability of observation within layered environments. Scale itself becomes a form of obfuscation. The persistence of privacy comes from a design that anticipates use and manages flows over long periods. When thresholds, buffers, and prepared spaces are correctly aligned, privacy becomes a stable condition that outlives momentary attention or active enforcement. The architectural layers do the daily work. Materials age, surfaces weather, yet spatial logic remains intact. Fixed elements sustain private conditions through daily and seasonal cycles. The environment enacts a silent protocol for what passes and what must stop. Mechanical and infrastructural systems support this persistence. HVAC zoning keeps noise separate from quiet areas, day and night. Access built into circulation reduces unauthorized footfall without a guard. Redundant seals maintain acoustic and visual separation for years with minimal upkeep. These systems operate continuously and autonomously. Ultimately, privacy persists because it is embedded in the static, physical reality of the building. A thick wall blocks sound regardless of occupants. A high window limits views regardless of time of day. The system does not tire. It requires no vigilance. It simply exists, and by existing, performs its function. The privacy it provides is as reliable as the structure itself. Privacy continues as an emergent feature wherever the layers line up and run without interruption. Rooms may sit empty for days and remain private. Corridors may rest for hours and still mark a separation. The architecture of privacy operates as a complete system, not a collection of isolated features. A long hallway that ends in a heavy door, requiring a key card and opening to a soundproofed room, is a simple integration. failure of any one element is compensated by the others. Each component reinforces the next. Privacy is not located in a single object. It is distributed throughout the environment. The system exists at all scales, from the placement of a single chair to the master plan of an entire campus. At microscale, partition height and desk orientation create small pockets of separation. At macro scale, district zoning and transport networks organize public and private land use. Effectiveness depends on coherence. Aligned elements yield naturally private space. When elements conflict, the system breaks down. The building becomes an integrated machine for calibrating exposure. Reading the system is noticing connections and disconnections, encouraged paths and discouraged ones. The system reveals itself in how light falls and sound travels, written in steel, glass, and concrete. Separation is the intended output of a complex, carefully designed system. The language is silent but legible. Aligned layers hold distance, reduce visibility, and channel access. No constant defense, only continuous function. Privacy endures as a fundamental and continuous quality of the space itself. In large and well-designed systems, privacy appears as a state of continuity. It is a persistent and unbroken pattern in the built world, not a temporary condition. Not a retreat from the world, but a maintained, stable state within it. Together, they form a cohesive system that holds distance, reduces visibility, and channels access according to a predefined logic. This system does not demand constant defense or active enforcement. It quietly and continuously performs its function. Rooms can sit empty and remain private. Corridors can rest and still mark separation. Privacy flows from permanent infrastructure, an outcome of fixed arrangement. It persists wherever layers align, and the system runs without interruption. The aim is a condition so stable it becomes assumed and reliable. Like gravity, it is present, shaping behavior without notice. When privacy is continuous, it requires no effort to maintain. It simply is. Privacy is not an event but a process, an unfolding spatial logic set in motion long ago. Architecture holds the line against constant pressure, creating pockets of stillness. The system runs, the layers hold. The quiet condition of privacy endures as a fundamental quality of the space itself. It is the silent, steady hum of a world in its proper place.